All right, so good morning, everybody. We're here for another episode of Nerdtalk. And today I have Brody Humphries with me. He's a foot nerd from Dallas, Texas in the United States. He's our newest nerd, and he might also be our youngest nerd. He's 19 years old. He's a really cool human being, and I'm excited for you to get to know him. But before we get started, I just want to define what the Foot Nerd program is. The Foot Nerd program is a year-long learning journey where people from all over the world and from every walk and background and professional background that you can imagine come together, and we study health together. We study the 5 pillars of health. The 5 pillars of health are high quality, functional, fun, nourishing movement practices. We study about food, eating wholesome, healthy food that nourish our bodies. We study about the mind and what it means to self-regulate, all different methodologies on how we can become as calm as we would like or as alert as we would like without pharmaceuticals and interventions of that nature as much as possible. And we study community. And the way that we study community is we become individual health nodes in our community. We have decided and committed to taking full responsibility for our own health and well-being. And as such, we become, we learn over a lifelong journey to master our own health. And we believe that only then can we be resources to the people around us who are interested in our local communities. So yeah, so I think did I get all the pillars? We have movement, we have food, we have mind, we have community. Oh, and of course, sleep. It's one of the more important aspects of health is deep and nourishing and healthy sleep. So those are the 5 pillars that we study. And one of the more important ways that we do this is we try not to take ourselves too seriously, and we approach these 5 pillars of health in a playful way as much as we can. And so I don't want to go on too long, but that's the Foot Nerd program. And so I want to welcome Brody today. He's going to give us his introduction of who he is and what his background is and how he found his way to the Foot Nerd journey. And then we will get after talking about the 5 pillars and some other things. So Brody, welcome.
Yes, Ruth. Hi. Are you hearing me background noise?
No.
I just drove up, so I just want to make sure that there's no background noise at the moment.
No background noise. Who just drove up?
It's actually the trash truck. So I forgot that they came this early in the morning. Normally they come a couple hours later. So
yeah, I didn't hear the beeping of the backing up.
Good. Just want to make sure that before got started and then getting interrupted by the noise in the background.
Yeah.
But yes, ma'am. So just kind of introduce myself, and then is there anything specific that you'd like to know about me?
Yeah, I want to know so much about you, Brody. So, okay, so I'll start off by Brody is 19 years old. He's from Dallas, Texas. And one of the things I'm really interested on his application, he told us about something that I was very interested in, which was that we asked this question about what do you think you can bring to the Foot Nerd community? And one of the things that I was really interested and intrigued with Brody was his answer about how being a young person, he knows that people in my generation and people in the generation beyond me, the people who essentially are running the show, we can have a tendency to be rather rigid in our belief systems, and we can dig our heels in. And so I love the idea that Brody recognized that and is willing to, continue to try to help us open and expand our horizons. So so one of the things that we talk about in the Foot Nerd program is being open-minded and critical thinkers, and we use the science methodology, the scientific method, in order to ruthlessly not fool ourselves. And that is very interesting about the different generations, because we have all age groups. And so Brody, why don't you just start by just tell us a little bit about your background and how you found your way to the Foot Nerd program, and then we'll get into that other juicy stuff.
Yes, ma'am. I'd love to tell you about that. And I'll try not to talk too long about myself, and then I'll hop right into slowly kind of getting into that and that first portion there. So I'd say for myself, just to start kind of way back and then skip forward, my health journey probably started around 6th grade, fifth grade, when I think I was about 190 pounds in 5th grade. So just a tad overweight. And so that's kind of started the process of yo-yo dieting for a while. And so that's kind of where the journey began with health. So getting to see it go from there to grow from, all right, I need to lose weight because I don't want to look fat, to I want to lose weight because I feel better. I noticed I didn't get migraines or anything like that later after I lost some weight. But so kind of started out there. And then
Can I
up
ask you,
until,
Brody?
oh, absolutely, feel
Yeah,
free.
I want to ask
Actually,
you
I
a
think that's something
question
I
about
never
that.
shared with you already.
Yeah.
So
Well, I remember that in the 5th and 6th grade, you were on this journey. I mean, 190 pounds as a kid in elementary school. So were you having migraines at that time, at that age in school?
yes, so not in school, but it would be, I would get home from school and I could down a box of Cheez-Its to have to keep my headache away. Because if I didn't, technically, probably I wouldn't say migraine. Migraine's a little bit more of a severe word, so probably severe headaches. But there would be times when if I didn't eat something, it would be, my head would hurt so bad that I would have to like lay down, turn the lights off, try and sleep, almost as if I had a migraine.
Yeah.
As soon as I ate something and got my blood sugar back up and kind of spiked it, then I'd be okay.
Interesting.
So that's kind of where the whole process began. So I wouldn't say necessarily migraines in the sense of chronic migraines, but severe headaches would probably be a better actual true term of describing it.
Yeah. So go on. I mean, that's a big deal. You didn't feel, I mean, obviously you didn't feel good. And then what was your progress after that?
So I mean, after that, that's when I got involved in Boy Scouts. And so through Boy Scouts, I mean, physically fit is one of the things. So that kind of hit me hard. I was like, between that, needing to lose weight, wanting to lose weight, I went ahead and joined a program they have for the new scouts joining, and we would go biking during the summer. So when I think we went and bought like a used mountain bike or something like that. So it would be every Saturday biking around the lake that's a couple miles away, and started out I think at 10 miles, then moved to 25 miles, and culminated that fall with a 50-mile bike ride.
Wow.
So it was along that as well as doing other stuff on my own exercise wise. And then just pretty much cutting my diet back a lot. So tracking calories that I was able to lose that weight. So, and I think that at that time, it was definitely something that I needed compared to where I was at. But that's kind of where it started. But with that, then as you lose weight, you're like, oh, I can eat a little bit of junk food and I'll be okay. And then that's where the yo-yo dieting starts.
I see.
Yeah.
So did you
myself? And I'm not saying that junk food is bad. It's not moderation. And learning that is kind of where I was getting at. I just didn't want to give the wrong image there of no junk food ever. Moderation is key.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, about how is it Mom?
That was actually one of my friends calling, I think, probably to ask me about a class. So turn the mirror off. I forgot that was him.
He or she will be like a cameo in our talk right now.
Exactly. They'd love to just be surprised. They probably just woke up, if we're being honest.
So when you did so your Boy Scout bike journey culminated in a 50-mile bike ride.
Yes,
Did you like to move, or were you more concerned with like were you concerned with how you looked, how you felt? And then because you're from Texas. I mean,
yes.
it's a big state. It's a big state. And we know about Texas barbecue, and like Texans, with all due respect, probably don't eat the healthiest of diets. So
I'd say for me, it was never about necessarily, I mean, yeah, ate barbecue, and looking at the science, I know a lot of the food I grew up on was not healthy. And I've made jokes with my parents about it. My dad kind of laughs. My mom doesn't like the comment, and so I won't make that. But So in regards to was it's about probably I enjoyed moving. I mean, I enjoyed getting out there biking, fresh air, movement, exercise. It feels great. It feels great to be able to lose weight and move even freer.
Yeah.
So yes, ma'am.
And then jumping ahead, so that was like sixth grade. I mean, you've been involved with the Boy Scouts for a long time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then jump ahead to like the Foot Nerd program. Like, how did you make your way? So it sounds like you've been on a health journey for a long time, since fifth grade, and then
Yes,
you started, and then like all journeys, they evolve. And how did
exactly.
you find yourself? Like, what do you? I know you're a student at Texas A&M,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'd like to know like what you're studying, and I think you're also a personal trainer, a health coach.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
tell us a little. Tell us about that,
Um,
Brody.
so I have my major that I'm pursuing is kinesiology. Down the road, I eventually want to go to Parker University in Dallas, go get my chiropractic degree. That way, then go into chiropractic. But as far as you mentioned, personal training, yes, ma'am. So National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM, is
Mhm.
mostly how I see it represented. So I have my CPT, or personal trainer, through them, and then CNC, the nutrition coach, through them. So yes, ma'am. So that's what I have there, and so that kind of hits the education spectrum. And as far as how I came across um, the Foot Collective and the Foot Nerd program and everything, I think it had to do. I know it was senior year of high school. I'm trying to remember exactly when, if I'm being honest. Pretty sure that it was. I first came across it in the fall. I started pursuing it more actually over quarantine.
Mhm.
So I think I came across probably in November, December of
Mhm.
senior year. Started doing a little bit of reading, kind of forgot about it. But I'd gotten the thought process of um, barefoot in because I had learned about going barefoot for weight training. So there's a little bit there. And then I ended up coming back to it a little bit later on because I'd gotten busy with my studies going into spring semester. So kind of dropped off any of staying for fun. But then after spring break and then fourth quarter of high school just kind of got scrapped, if you will. I had a lot of free spare time to be able to use, and
Mhm.
so ended up doing a lot of reading, starting educating myself, and that's where I got into the barefoot journey. And I am going to
Yeah, turn that off,
turn my phone
Brody.
off. That's what we're gonna do.
Turn it off, Brody Humphries. This is your tribe mama speaking. Turn that
Exactly.
phone off.
There we go.
We want to talk to you right now. Okay, so
Exactly.
you started getting interested in weight training, barefoot, natural footwear. You found your
Yes,
way
ma'am.
to the Foot Nerd program during quarantine,
Yes.
and then you came on board. And I'm curious, like, what's your life like right now? Are you seeing people in person, and then yeah, so what's your give me a quick sample of like a day in the life of Brody Humphries. And by the way, he has the very cute dog named Gracie, and she might make an appearance too.
I do. I purposely kept her out of my room for this because I didn't know to what degree, although I feel like she would have interrupted less than my phone so far. So, you know, don't know if that was the right decision, but maybe
You
go
you
ahead.
no, you can't turn Gracie notifications off, but you can turn your phone notifications off.
Exactly. Um, luckily, hopefully she's taking her mid-morning nap. But let's see. So as far as a day in the life, so getting up in the morning.
Yeah, like
Uh,
what time do you get up usually? And do you have any morning routines?
it varies when I get up. It also depends when I go to bed. I try to get a solid 6 hours. So not gonna lie, that's a big one. That's gonna be a big one for the Foot Nerd program. Is waking up,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. Sometimes I'm great, get to bed at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm able to get up 5, 6 in the morning.
Wow.
Sometimes it may or may not be after 1 o'clock in the evening. So we don't need to talk about my sleep schedule as much, but yeah, so it kind of varies, but try to just keep it consistent with the amount of sleep I get in an evening.
Yeah.
So as far as classwork, all my classes are actually online.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had an apartment down at A&M, and I sublet my apartment so that I wouldn't have to be on the hook for essentially $1,000 a month. I'm taking all my classes online.
So just to give the big picture, like when the pandemic hit, you moved home.
So when the pandemic hit, I was at home senior year of high school. Well, funny story. So as COVID was starting to become known, at least here in the US, or become noticed, I guess, because people knew about it, we'd been seeing it since December of the previous year. I was leaving for a mission trip to Cuba. I get back and like the next day, everything shuts down. So we were lucky to get back and not have issues with getting back into the country, because I know people who were out for a few extra days and had issues getting back in. But as far as so senior year, and then went ahead and got an apartment down College Station for A&M. But then ended up all the classes were moved to online. Like they said, all right, pretty much most things are going to be online for your fall semester. And so it was okay. So I'm going to check my schedule. My schedule ended up being, they're going to try and get everyone at least 1 or 2 in-person classes. The class I had selected were all online. So I ended up being stuck with being online. So it was, why spend money to be in an apartment that I could just be at home? Yeah. So
I know a lot of students that are in that exact same position, you know. And it seems like there's like a really nice gift in that you get to be home with family, with all, you know, with all of that, with all the things that come along with that, but you are with your loved ones at least. And I hear a lot of good feedback about like some of the experiences that people have had after, you know, being able to be home with their families and such, and doing their coursework online. So then let's jump in, since you kind of led us into the 5 pillars. So sleep. So being new to the program, I mean, Brody's like, I think this is maybe your second week, and we just jumped right in, because Brody's also part of one of our piloting programs called Learn Contribute program. So where he will help us research different aspects of how the program is evolving and contribute in different ways to the program in exchange for tuition. So we give one of these learn contribute positions once every quarter, and Brody is our newest person. So that's why we are putting him on the spot right away, because he's gonna be helping us quite a bit. And so I want to talk about sleep. The sleep pillar is something that you sheepishly smiled about, not getting enough sleep. Well, we won't put you too much on the spot about how important your sleep is, but we will.
Put me on the spot, then it's more than to watch. So I say put me on the spot. I'm just saying I won't.
Okay, well,
let's
just talk about sleep. I mean, you're 19 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
You are doing your coursework online. You have a job. You're trying to build your business, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're in the year-long Foot Nerd program. You probably are a leader in your community on some level with the Boy Scouts. If I'm remembering, you work with the Boy Scouts still, right?
Yes, ma'am. Luckily, as high school ended, I was able to kind of slowly cut that back a little bit. So that was a good thing. So,
but the point is
still involved there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but I mean, like, people, not just you, students in general, juggle a lot, and we forget to prioritize our sleep. And so let me just ask you, like, what in the sleep pillar, like, what are your ideas about what good quality, like, how much sleep do you think your body needs personally, right? Because we know that there's like a range that people function pretty well at. But like, and I don't know if you started reading Tiny Habits yet by BJ Fogg, which is one of the textbooks that we have.
Yeah.
And some of the other resources and podcasts that we have in the Foot Nerd program, where you'll start to study sleep more, and then you'll make changes in your sleep patterns. So just as a quick, in case some of you are listening, what we do in the Foot Nerd program is we become what we like to call citizen scientists, which is that we study about the 5 pillars of health, and then we take that information and we apply it in our own lives, doing our own health experiments to find how we feel the healthiest. So Brody, like, do you know like where your body feels the best and how much sleep you actually would need to get on a regular basis?
So there's the optimal 8 hours, and you can dive into, is there monophasic or diphasic sleep and all that kind of stuff. But as far as for myself personally, I'd say between 6 to 7 hours. Anything over that, I feel the exact same when I wake up. If not, sometimes I feel a little bit more groggy when I wake up.
And when you get out of bed in the morning, do you have a morning? I know it varies depending on what time you get up. I think we started talking about this, but
yes,
do you have
like a similar routine in the morning, but except for
tell us what it is.
So generally it's so I don't know if people have seen, so I have my gallon of water that I drink out of. Yes, it's plastic. I work my event doing a water filter. It's distilled water.
Don't get on his case.
Exactly. It's distilled water. I've been drinking that for my gallbladder for years, but so eventually going to get towards water filtering out where it's actually can have a home water distiller. But as far as getting up in the morning, so I try and generally drink maybe say a quarter of the gallon of water. And then
you do that right when you get out of bed. You're like,
yes, ma'am. Right when I get up, and I'll go ahead and do that and just get some water. And generally, it's not that hard, just because I'm used to drinking a lot of water during the day, and I enjoyed drinking water, as well as you haven't had anything in you for 8 hours, 7 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then what comes next after you're drinking the water?
After that, generally will probably be I go splash some water on my face just to kind of wake me up a little bit of cold water. Exactly, gotta go, get styled up for the morning. No, but go brush my teeth, wash my face. But that cold water initially, just to kind of get a little bit of energy, and then after that, my good go-to, either some form of caffeine, so either coffee or matcha. So like right now I have my matcha for the morning. I have more water to make more matcha. I think this is our second glass of the day. So I was making it I was getting the hot water right before we hopped on here this morning. So
so can you explain to people what matcha is for those people that don't know?
Yes, essentially how I describe it is super potent green tea. So it's just green tea. They take it, they shade it in the end, so it goes through a different process. It ends up being more dense with chlorophyll, EGCG, which is just one of the antioxidants that green tea is really known for, and so it's just a more potent version per se. This is the simplest way that I describe it.
Yeah. Okay, so you have your morning ritual. Let's go to your movement practice.
Yes.
So Foot Nerds, we study the different ways that feel good to move essentially we study movement practices where we can feel good in our bodies, whole body.
Exactly.
We commit to taking responsibility for our health and well-being, and a moving practice is part of that. And we always talk about movement is different than exercise, right? Thank you, Katie Bowman, who, with regards to movement, tell us a little bit about your movement practices. Tell us a story about movement health, Brody. Tell us a story.
Let's see. I mean, I have a squat rack with gymnastics. So there's going to be some bias towards probably weightlifting a little bit if you haven't picked up on me mentioning weightlifting once or twice already. But joy for me, there's weightlifting involved. I enjoy walking a lot. It's definitely, I'd say, an underrated piece of movement. I mean, using that with one of my clients, he ended up dropping his A1C levels way down to about healthy and lost about 20 pounds just off of walking. Some other things involved for balance, but for the main action or activity portion and true movement. It was walking. It's, I'd say, an underrated thing.
Yeah.
Great for circulation. I mean, just amazing to get out and walk. So I'd say that's probably, for me, top on list, at least try and get out. Plus it gets me sunlight other than through this window right here.
Yeah.
On top of like if I have to go drive somewhere or go get something, but dedicated time just kind of like be with my thoughts. Which I know that's a whole nother pillar, but so walking or weightlifting are probably my two big movement ones that I enjoy. Definitely got a little bit too much into weightlifting junior year, maybe a little bit senior year.
Yeah, it feels good though, right? To push it, to lift heavy shit, it feels good.
Oh, it really does. I mean, it's great for stress. That's why I did it. I mean, I sacrificed other parts of my health to do that, but it was great for stress to lift weights. As I said, lifting heavy stuff, it's great.
Yeah.
So,
and health, I mean, like health is a learning, I mean, like health is, defining health is different for everyone, and it's a lifelong learning journey, and how we define it evolves, you know. So I don't think we ever need to apologize for experimenting, you know, because the way that we learn is by trying something and making mistakes. And it's only through, I mean, you have to make mistakes in order to learn and then decide. That's the whole point about being a scientist, is that if you don't actually try something and then evaluate the outcome of that, you can't grow.
Exactly.
And so, so I don't know. I just don't think that you should ever have to apologize for experimenting with your health, whether it's through weightlifting or anything like that, you know. And for anyone out there who's experimenting, keep experimenting, because
keep experimenting, and definitely have someone to guide you along the way. For me, weightlifting, I forgot mobility. Starting out, I wasn't really focused on things. So mobility. So a couple months later, when my chiropractor had to go in and dig up because the lactic acid in the pectoral muscles, had to go in and hand work it out. That was painful. So experimenting is good, but have someone to guide you along the way and ask them questions. That way you don't make painful mistakes.
Yes, that's exactly right. That does sound painful. I don't want to have any lactic acid dug out of my muscles. Okay, so then let's go to, so we covered sleep, we covered movement. Do you want to talk about food for a little bit?
I would love to. Any specific questions for food, or just kind of go off
just
of it?
Give me what you got, Brody. Give me what you got.
Pretty much trying to keep a whole foods diet, and that's probably the simplest way and most filling way that I've found, at least for myself and for others.
So do you eat 3 solids a day? Do you have do you graze throughout the day? There's about for every single type of person on the planet, there's a different style of eating. What's yours? Like personally, what's yours?
So it used to be structured intermittent fasting. Now it's just kind of, I wake up, I'll have my matcha or coffee because I know that doesn't break my fast. And then whenever I'm hungry, so sometimes it won't be till 3, 4 in the afternoon. That's when I'll start eating. I always try to break my fast with bone broth though.
Nice.
I also try not to do it too much. Like there are mornings where like I'll wake up like, all right, I need to eat like now, even if I'm not hungry, even get something in me, because fasting too much and the effect on cortisol and the whole slew of things over there. And so, but generally I'll wait till a little bit later in the day to start eating.
And then, so you actually might not have your first meal until 3 or 4 in the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting.
It also depends how physically active I'm going to go out and be, but generally I'm being used to it. I could go out and go lift weights here, go do something in the yard if I need to or whatever, and still be fine.
Yeah, so I mean, my husband and I, we follow something similar where we usually stop our meals. We stop eating around 7 or 7:30 at night, and then we don't really eat again until 12 or 1 the next day. But by that time, I'm pretty powerfully hungry. So do you go by like how your body feels?
Generally, I go off just kind of how it feels. I mean, starting out, it was kind of structured in intermittent fasting because I knew if I put up how it felt. I start out, back to the weightlifting real quick, is I start out thinking I don't need to care about my diet. Because now I'm weightlifting. That was a big fallacy. But later on, I was like, maybe nutrition is important. So got into that. So started with structured intermittent fasting. I mean, doing up to 72-hour fasts and different stuff like that. But now it's generally just going off of how I feel, unless like I have down like, okay, I do need to make sure that I eat something in the morning, or to not have constantly having my body in that fasted state.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. That's fascinating.
And then also trying to go to bed, not go to bed. That's what I did need to work on. Go to bed early. That's what I need to work on. Stop
the sleep
eating
pillars
early.
On your mind.
Exactly. As you can tell, there's guilt there. I'm a personal trainer, I should, actually be modeling it. But.
Ooh, and you know what? This is going to go out to the public. So now you're going to be held accountable by a global community.
Exactly. But hey, I think it's a good thing to say, hey, even those who are supposed to know everything or do everything right, have their mess ups. Like some people, maybe I go eat ice cream once a week. For me, I don't eat ice cream. But for me, it may be I struggle to go to sleep and have a good schedule.
Exactly. Like I mean, we're human beings, we're human beings, and we're and the whole point of like finding what works for us is finding what actually feels good, and feeling good means that you're not ridden with guilt.
Exactly. And it's a process, as you said. There's a journey earlier, journey. But on top of that, it can be a community effort. It's a whole lot better to do it with others encouraging you than is to do it off on your own soul.
Yeah. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll stick with the sleep, the movement, and the food pillar for today, because I want to go on to well, before we go on though, can we talk about your gallbladder for a second, just since we're on
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history and what happened there, and before we leave the food pillar?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll hit that real quick. I don't remember how much detail I've shared with you. I think I've shared, but
how about you share as much detail as you would want the entire world to know?
Good point. I talked about it really, so I'm okay with it. So I was 3 years old. I was diagnosed with gallstones, 4.5 or 5, somewhere in there. I was in pre-K 4. I know that. I think I was not quite 5 yet. Or pre-K, pre-kindergarten. For those who, I don't know, some people don't realize that, so I just want to share that. So pre-kindergarten. So I was there and had a gallbladder attack, gallstone attack. And they were wanting to take out my gallbladder. So I'm in the hospital, and they're wanting to take out my gallbladder. So my mom, she's a flight attendant. She had a couple different flight attendants to her. At my school, we had a couple different teachers, administrators, etc., come to my mom, since she was always up there helping with this activity, that activity. So they all went and told her, not realizing the other people were going, and all told her about this one guy, neurological kinesiologist / chiropractor. So I still go to him today. So I referenced him earlier. He's the one who was digging up the lactic acid and kind of giving me a hard time about it. So he was like, okay. Normally he's booked up for between 4 to 6 months. So he said, okay, well, can you be here at like 5:30 in the morning or something like that? And so we were there, 5:30, spent about 2.5 hours, and said we can get this taken care of. So I still have my gallbladder today. Long story short, it was diet a little bit, fruit pectin. So like the brand Ball, like for canning fruits, jams, jellies, etc. So they make fruit pectin for making the jams and jellies. And that stuff is actually helps your gallbladder, this specific type of fiber, pectin. And so it helps your gallbladder, and so it helps with the gallstones. So went ahead between that. There's massaging to kind of help, not flush, but for lack of a better term, off the top of my head, flush the gallbladder. So that pretty much at the time it was cut down to mostly trying to do turkey meat, avoid pork, stick to turkey, chicken, stuff like that. And
you had your gallbladder.
I have my gallbladder. Yes.
Oh, well, congratulations on having an appendage that you would have otherwise had to be without, which is kind of
Exactly.
important in dealing with fats in our diet, right?
Exactly. Just a tad.
Yeah, just a tad. Um, so so Brody, what do you want to do? Like what's your goal? You said you wanted to, not your goal, but like where do you want this journey to go for you? So we always talk about in the Foot Nerd program that we embark on this year-long journey together,
Awesome.
um, where we get we do all these health experiments in our own life. It sounds like you're continuing with yours,
Yes, ma'am.
and
All the time.
then after the year is up, we really are just beginning, right? So like
Exactly.
when Foot Nerds enroll in the Foot Nerd program, you essentially embark on a lifelong network with people who are aligned in the same ideas, right? That want
Yes.
to reclaim responsibility for our own healthcare and then share that experience with others. So where do you think you want where do you want to go with all this? Like, do you have any ideas or like a vision, or are you just want to see where it goes?
So I mean, as for myself, I know one major thing that I think I've commented to you multiple times about this is the fact that I love the community aspect of the Foot Collective and how it's all these like-minded people, different professions, but all chasing this one thing that is health, but movement and the five pillars, constantly trying to strive and be better and help others. And so I love that community aspect. And so getting involved in that community, getting a chance to, yes, I know you commented on the fact that, yeah, I'm 19, so helping say maybe kind of provide that younger perspective from one generation to say the next, but on the same hand, also being able to learn from those more experienced because
Yeah.
they're generally, I would say, 99.9% of the time, just random number picked off the top of my head, not an actual statistic, but um, those who have been around doing stuff longer know more. And as you said, there's the citizen scientist. So in the sense of, yes, there's research studies that you can do, but it's learning from yourself, your experiences. I know Nick and I want to a couple of his podcasts has talked about different things or different ideas where we bring together all these resources of, so this has worked for this person, this has worked for that person, they've seen this. So technically it's not a research study. What it is it's what anecdotal evidence. But if you have enough of that, there can be some legitimacy to it.
Yeah.
There may not just, there was no reason to do a study on it yet, or there was this, or there's that, or something that hasn't even, the thought hasn't come into study.
Yeah.
So being able to learn from those wiser than me, help distribute that to others, to help other people's health, and then also just to give back to the community. I
Yeah.
know I'm learning from y'all a lot right now, and I hope to do the same at some point and help others.
And Brody, it's funny because like you're such a polite man,
Thank you.
but the truth is that like we have a lot to learn from you. And I think that it's true. Like, I mean, I'm in the middle of my life and I find that like it wasn't until you actually wrote in your application about how we dig our heels in or we get stuck in our belief system. I mean, like what you wrote in there made me stop and ponder because I will be honest, like when I see young people, like I live on a college campus and I see, and I'm in the South as well. So I'm in Alabama and I look at the students walking around with their phones and with their head in the phone all the time. And I have judgments about that, like it's not healthy. You're wasting your life, kid. Like you have gifts, like explore. But the truth of the matter is that I haven't slowed down enough to actually make a relationship or embark on a relationship or try to understand like what are they looking at, or what is happening in the world of people in their teens, in their 20s. You know, it seems to me like, from my perspective, I'm like, that seems like such a hollow life. But the fact is, the more people I get to know like you in your age group, and especially since I read your application about how we have our blind spots, I'm paying closer attention to that. And I think it's really important for people who are listening who are in my age group in 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond to recognize that we are living in a world where like so much has changed so quickly technologically that we have a responsibility to understand what's happening with younger generations and how I use technology because it's like the biggest thing, right?
Exactly.
Between the pandemic and then just our advances in technology. And I come from,
we can go on that for a minute or two if you're up for that. But I
yeah,
also know time-wise that we have to watch, because you said about 45 minutes. So just
yeah,
want to
but
keep that.
let's go a little longer because I think this is important. That when I joined the Foot Nerd program, I was a very resistant, you know, like I'm a yoga instructor, I'm a health educator. And when I first, I didn't want to I didn't want to dive into Zoom. I did not, I mean, I had like a burner phone, pretend this mouse is like my Nokia, you know, I'm like, and I love the old school
Yeah.
stuff. So I was very super resistant to diving into technology until I didn't have any community around me because we were isolating from each other, and I had to learn, and it wasn't easy. And the fact of the matter is that learning is not designed to be easy. It's supposed to be a struggle because your brain is trying to work it all out. So it's not comfortable. But
Exactly.
I want to say that like, I think it's important to hear your perspective, and I want you to not be so polite and tell us right now, tell us, what do we need? What do we like, if you could talk to a room full of 50-year-olds, what would you say that we need to do better?
You've already said it, honestly. What you said is where you had made the comment of you would kind of look and be judgy, but now you take a look and realize, okay, that's what they're doing, but have I made an effort to create a relationship with them? The first step is create that relationship. I heard it put beautifully a while back. I was listening. I try to not listen to I try to listen to music a little bit, but try to listen to podcasts. Just try and glean something from everywhere I can.
Mhm.
And they'd said you can know everything you want in the world about a subject. You can know how to apply it, but if you can't connect with the person, it means nothing. Which
So
is so true.
how would you recommend that we connect with you? Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm lucky that I get to meet with you face to face, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a neighbor, she's so cute. She's like in 7th grade. And when I say hello, I scare her every day because she walks past my door and she's on her phone like this. And then I say, good morning, Kendall. And
At
I
least
think,
it's up like this and not down like this. At least
and I say good morning, and I think it freaks her out. And she's like, oh, hey, man. Oh, hey. But so how would we connect? Like, how would you tell a room full of people my age to connect with young people like in their teens? Like, how do we do that?
the issue is that every single person is different. That's the issue. And it's a beautiful thing because every single person is different, but also I can't give you a one cut, this is how you connect to everyone answer. I wish I could give you a cookie cutter answer, but sadly I can't. But I'd say the biggest one is definitely taking that effort to learn. There's always going to be the people who are going to be standoffish and just won't want to create that connection ever. But a lot of times, if you take that first step and then go from there, generally, you'll kind of figure out exactly how they behave, what they enjoy, how they connect, and you can figure out how to integrate helping educate them with how they are as a person. Because I mean, if you told me a long time ago that I would, if you told me back junior year when I was weightlifting that I would be thinking about using a balance beam, I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed thinking I'm going to use a balance beam instead of going off and spending an extra 30 minutes doing weights. I would have laughed at someone.
Interesting.
So, or what are these little toe things? But what am I doing now? I'm part of the Foot Collective.
Yeah.
Or working on joining the Foot Collective, the Foot Nerd program, etc. So
it sounds like not,
it's a journey.
one thing
Yep.
is not like forcing things, right? And the other thing
Exactly.
is that like you're not going to come to the idea, you're not going to have the balance. Well, we always talk about this in the Foot Nerd program, that you don't talk about your experience or try to share your experience with somebody who isn't interested. You ask questions. We try to ask questions and listen more than we try to spew uh, our health facts. And then and I'm interested in your parents. I think we were talking in one of our meetings about your dad. Can we talk about, I mean, I don't know if you,
So feel free to.
I don't know, because maybe your pop's going to listen, but I mean, if you don't mind telling, like, cause we're
I'll
talking
embarrass
about
you
like,
while we listen. Hey,
so I
Dad.
think you had some like, hey dad, what's your dad's name?
Brian.
Hey, Mr. Brian, we're going to talk about you for a minute. Because they're in a generation, but they're also open-minded ish. So
Yes.
tell us about like your experiment with your pops.
So to preface this, he's 64. So it's not like doing this experiment, say, with someone who's 30 or 40. Not to say that you can't do anything at any age, but you have to be more conscious of certain things. So I started going barefoot because I was at home most of the time over quarantine. Well, true quarantine, back when COVID started, senior year of high school. So I was barefoot most of the time. But I didn't have any barefoot shoes. Still have them in my closet, 6 different pairs of dress shoes that, between loafers and this and that, but all pointed toes, and then my tennis shoes, and hiking boots. But so some activewear and then dress wear, but all of them that pointed toe. So, and thick sole as well as elevated heel. And so it was okay, I'm going barefoot, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna go fully barefoot, because if I don't have barefoot shoes at the moment, I'm just gonna go completely barefoot. So we go down to walk on the lake. And by the end of that, I'm just kind of hobbling along because my feet not ready for that one. May have gone a little bit harsh with that. So that's an embarrassing story for me. But I went ahead and ordered some zero shoe sandals.
Uh-huh.
Just the Genesis one. I don't remember what the exact name of them are.
Not even important.
The thin zero shoe sandals. But they're on discount. So I was like, hey, Dad, would you wear these if I got you a pair? He said, sure. So get him a pair. So just because you save on, so instead of getting myself a pair and then him saying, well, I want one, and then saying, oh boy, so we're gonna go pay more for shipping to order you a pair. So just order them all at once. So I get him some. It's good, but he doesn't wear them. So he generally wears his tennis shoes, his this, that, the other. So his life, I'm merely someone living here. I'm not going to force anything, because that was definitely someone when I was younger, is kind of trying to force that journey. And it's like, no, that's my journey. Let them have their journey. If they don't want to have their journey, you can encourage, but that's it. And so he finally started wearing them. I had said, go maybe half a mile, then swap back to your tennis shoes. Half a mile or we can turn around and head back home. So this is on a 6-mile walk. So we had walked 3 miles. It's 9 miles around the lake. So we walked about 3 miles and walked 3 miles back. So he wore the sandals all for 3 miles instead of half a mile. And I just said, hey, is it the best idea? And he's like, I'm fine. Okay, I'm not going to argue. Okay. I should have argued more, especially considering the fact that what I was afraid could happen did happen. So he was sore, but he was fine. About a week later, he takes a step off our front porch, leg just gives out.
Oh no.
He had actually torn one of his calf muscles.
No.
The medial part of his gastroc.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so we're just now getting him back out into walking. It's maybe like half a mile.
Yeah.
So 1 mile total. Not barefoot, with tennis shoes.
Yeah. So what's the moral to the story, Brody? Like, so now that we know we know that like wearing a shoe that's wide and flexible and thin and that you can feel the ground is the healthiest for our feet. What's the advice you would give to somebody? And Mr. Brian, shout out that we have to learn from the younger generations.
I mean, I also should have pushed it harder knowing what I knew, so that's also on me.
Yeah, Brody, listen.
At least
yeah,
it was
Brody.
Smith and not one of my clients, right? No.
Yeah, so what's the moral to the story?
So the moral is just like with food, and you do moderation, same thing with health. Too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing. I mean, coffee has antioxidants, right? Too much coffee can also make you go crazy with that amount of caffeine. So too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, especially starting out. I mean, I know even like for me, after say maybe getting into a 5, like let's say I go run 4 or 5 miles, my calves will be more sore than they used to be. Say with tennis shoes. Granted, that's also because I'm working them more. But it's that I'm fine with it. I know where I'm at. I know that I'm good, but it's moderation, not starting out too fast, especially knowing depending what your age is. I mean, if you're younger than 30, your body's more forgiving than if you're 64.
Yeah.
So the thing would be moderation for shoes. I know you probably want me to stop talking.
No. I was gonna ask you though, like with Mr. Brian, was he willing to go back to the zero shoes and take it slow, or is he bummed out now because he hurt himself and he's not going to wear those shoes again? Do you know what I'm saying?
He's willing to, but I'm going to force moderation on him.
So he's willing to go back to the zero shoes once oh, great. That's great. That's great.
I'm willing to go back and try it. I'm just going to be very careful. And so my response was, well, listen to me this time and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Because I like to father-son relationship. We like to, a good one. And we like to tease each other a little bit. So that one.
Yeah. We can't take ourselves too seriously.
Exactly. You got to enjoy life, right?
You've got to enjoy life, Brody.
But, I mean, most tennis shoes have about a 12 millimeter drop in the sole, or heel drop. So your heel is raised 12 millimeters above the ball of your foot. You know this. I'm just saying it that way.
No, please go on.
What I'm about to say. So there's actually little inserts you can get. So when you say get barefoot tennis shoes, it depends also. Some people are perfectly fine without it. Mm-hmm. But if, let's say, you're a little bit more prone to having injuries, maybe for some reason you're really nervous about it, or let's say you are older, then what ends up happening is, so your foot has been raised for so long that your muscle shortened. So it's when you bring it back down, what would normally be a normal length is actually really stretched out. So it's actually going and getting a little heel cup to put your heel up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. That way it's lower than what it normally is, but it's higher than completely flat. And so wear that for a little while. Let it adapt. Let your body get back and get used to it. And then go completely flat. That's something that I'm actually going to do with him, because right now he took his tennis shoes that already have a raise and had to actually, in order for his gastroc to heal better, is to then put even more lifts in it for his heel. So that's just kind of relaxed all the time.
Yeah.
But then what we're going to do is we're going to take those, probably end up getting a pair of barefoot style tennis shoes. So like, go explore them, but then go put the heel cup in there. Just that way it's lower than where he was, but higher than where he isn't completely barefoot. So he'll still have the toe spread, or he'll still have the ability to have the toe splay. He will still have the thin flexible sole. And then there's the toe spring, which theoretically shouldn't be on those. I'll have to go look up tennis shoes, but then for him, it'll be slowly adapting his heel, and then just take that out when he's ready. That's something that I'm going to do for him, that maybe for others that are worried about getting into it too fast, or because of their age, because I know this is actually something that, I mean, for him, for one of my clients who is 57, he had bad balance. We got him barefoot. fixed it right away.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, it's the simplest things, right, that can help.
Exactly.
So Brody, we're going to wrap it up. What I want to do is come back in a couple months and revisit this again,
Yes, ma'am.
adding on the mindfulness pillar and the community pillar. I don't really think it's fair to jump into that so soon when you just have barely started in the program. It's obvious we have a lot to talk about. But so I want to just end our conversation today in a ceremonial way that I've ended other conversations with Foot Nerds, and that's with the joke.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to tell a joke, and then maybe that'll spark one coming to your brain that you remember. And you're going to get a choice between a biology joke and a knock-knock food joke.
Why not do both? Or are you
Oh.
saving it up over time?
No, I've got plenty where
You've
this
got
comes
plenty.
from.
Then let's do both. You
Okay,
can always use more laughs in your day, right?
That's right. So which one comes first then, biology or food? And by the way, these
Let's go with
can,
biology so people don't tune out before, because if maybe they don't want to hear a biology joke, they have to wait to hear the other one. So let's do biology first.
okay, so biology is, let me see if I can remember. Good. Okay, so a neutron walks into a bar. And
Okay.
if you don't know what a neutron, remember when you were in 7th grade and you learned about protons, electrons, and neutrons? Protons have a positive charge, et cetera, and neutrons are neutral. So this neutron walks into a bar and the bartender says, "What do you have to drink?" And in honor of you, the neutron says, "Bartender, I'll take a matcha." So the bartender slides the matcha down the counter, and the neutron downs it. And then the neutron says to the bartender, "How much do I owe you?" And the bartender says, "For you, neutron, no charge." I know that's really bad. Get it?
I love
Neutron.
that one. You got to have a little bit of fun with biology and chemistry and everything.
You knew that one?
I hadn't heard it before.
Okay,
it made sense, but no, I hadn't heard it before.
Does that spark your memory about any joke you want to tell?
I have to think. I sadly don't have really a stockpile
That's
of jokes.
okay.
It's
That's
normally
okay.
just like I'll make little remarks at seeing things rather than actual.
All right. Well, for our next one, you're going to have to.
I'll
For our
come
next
up
talk, you're
I'll
going to
have
have
to
to come
do
up
some
with one.
research. Yeah.
And
It's
interestingly,
just got to be before 10 o'clock at night, right?
yeah, that's right. So in honor of you again, Brody, and the food joke I came up with, we'll go with the pectin, and all,
Yes, ma'am.
is a knock knock joke that you probably remember. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, you glad I didn't say banana again? So dumb. Okay, Brody, I'm going to end it here.
That one sounds perfect.
Thank you so much for coming to another episode of Nerd Talk, where we hear the stories, the health journeys of our Foot Nerd family. And if you have questions about our program or you want to ask us anything, you can feel free to email us at nerdhelperteam@gmail.com, or you can go explore our website at tfcfootnerd.com. So thank you for joining us. And Brody, I can't wait to talk to you again. Hope you all have a great day.
I look forward to talking to you as well.
Yeah, Brody. So take care, everyone, and we'll talk real soon. Bye-bye.